Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's very nice to be here. I tell you, you never experienced a beautiful Saturday morning unless you spent over an hour in PennDOT construction traffic. How many here? I'm sure more than a few. Okay, I'm glad that we're all here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me. Let me start by telling you, or giving you an example of why I believe these statewide appellate court races are so important. In 2000, the President of the United States was elected by a single vote from the United States Supreme Court, 5-4. A couple of years later, that same court said that you don't have the constitutional right to have the government not take your property away just for a public use, 5-4. And in the past couple of years, not once but twice, that same court, by a single vote, 5-4 both times, barely affirmed your right to protect yourself and your family in your home against an intruder with a handgun. Second Amendment, not once but twice. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not a candidate for the United States Supreme Court, but I can tell you I am a candidate for one of our intermediate appellate courts, which is a court of last resort for most Pennsylvanians that have matters in the court system. Ladies and gentlemen, that court sits and hears cases generally with only 3 judges on a panel. That means that a single member can say yes or no to issues and rights that are important to you and your families. I am Vic Stabile, and I am the endorsed Republican candidate for Superior Court. I am pro-life, I am pro-Second Amendment, I am a member of the NRA, and I support traditional family. Thank you. Let me give you just a little bit of background. I'm an 82 graduate of the Dickinson School of Law, where I was a member of the Law Review and president of the Student Bar Association. When I graduated, I was honored to be placed in an appellate judicial clerkship where I researched and drafted appellate decisions for one of our appellate judges, Judge Barbieri, who was from the Philadelphia area. Some of you may have known him during his time. I did that for a couple of years. When I left, I became a trial attorney in the Office of Attorney General. I was appointed a Deputy Attorney General and litigated cases in about 30 different common pleas courts throughout Pennsylvania. While I was there, I had my first opportunity to go to the Pennsylvania Supreme Court in order to make law in the Commonwealth. I argued and won a case there which allowed the Commonwealth to keep open its state recreational land for the citizens of Pennsylvania to be able to enjoy. When I left that position in 1987, I joined my present firm, Dilworth Paxson. In 1992, I was made a partner, and I've managed the Harrisburg office since that time. I've specialized in complex commercial and civil litigation, but I was attracted to Dilworth because it's a firm that has a strong reputation and encourages its attorneys to get involved in public service. And that's really how I've always viewed my profession. I've never viewed law as a business. I've viewed it as a profession. I've viewed it as a position where you can serve and make a difference in your community. And I have put thousands of hours of volunteer work into my community and into pro bono work. Ladies and gentlemen, I am the only candidate recommended by the Pennsylvania Bar Association for the appellate courts this year, where they have commented that I'm qualified based upon my strong experience in handling cases before the appellate courts. I was also recognized for exemplary pro bono service in the community and to the bar. I'll give you just a couple of examples. I had the opportunity to represent a widow whose service husband was killed in Desert Shield flying an F-111. The government expressed its sympathy to her and said, "We're very sorry for your loss, but we can't pay you the rest of the money the government owed him. He didn't finish his time." He gave his life for his country. Ladies and gentlemen, I took that case because a friend of mine knew I was admitted to the Court of Federal Claims in Washington, D.C. I spent over 3 years of my life on that case, and I took that case through 2 federal courts. We were successful eventually in working with some friends of ours in Washington, D.C. to get private legislation passed through the Congress and signed by the President of the United States while I litigated that case. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas of that year, I had the absolute honor to tell this woman that the President of the United States and the United States Congress, based upon our efforts, granted her husband's benefits. Congratulations. She had a 1-month-old baby that man never saw, and a 2-year-old at the time of his death. Ladies and gentlemen, I have stood up for individual rights. I have represented that woman. I have represented orphans. I have represented disabled individuals. I have saved 2 communities in Cumberland County in central Pennsylvania from disastrous development destruction. And I can tell you more about that in another time. I have also donated many hours pro bono representing our Republican candidates and fighting to eliminate voter fraud in the state of Pennsylvania. Unfortunately, it's left to the courts right now when we can be successful until we can get a governor and a legislature that will do something about it. But Vic Stabile has always stood up to the plate and contributed my time in order to do that on behalf of the citizens of Pennsylvania and the Republican Party of Pennsylvania. I've given you some examples of what I've done as an attorney. What you also probably may not know is that I also chair a board of supervisors in Middlesex Township, Pennsylvania. That's one of the other jobs that doesn't pay my bills, but I'm glad to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, as a supervisor, I have a reputation as a fiscal conservative. I don't like spending money, and I don't like raising taxes. My nickname is Squeaky. When you come before my board, the first thing I say to you is, how may I help you? Not what can you do for us, but how may I help you? We are there to serve you. I chaired the Republican Party of Cumberland County for almost 11 years and had to resign in order to run for this judicial position. I viewed that as a position for public service. We made the trains run, we got our candidates nominated, elected, and we worked to inform voters. And when I took that committee over almost 11 years ago, it was bankrupt. I worked during that time to put that committee back together one person at a time, to be able to get margins for our candidates to be able to win and put Cumberland County back on the chart. When I left in January of this year, that committee had about $30,000 in the bank from almost $5,000 in the red when I took over. We never lost an election. We gave Tom Corbett 70% and Pat Toomey 65% of the vote. And that was my record as Republican County Chairman on behalf of the citizens of Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, my judicial philosophy is very simple. It is, judges do not legislate from the bench. And even though I was politically active, I will tell you this. If I am fortunate enough to get onto the appellate court here in Pennsylvania, I don't care who you are, what your social status is, who you know, what political party you're from, I don't care how wealthy or dirt poor you are. If you are in front of me as an appellate court judge, you will be given equal justice under law. It's in our Constitution, it's in our Declaration of Independence, it is carved in the pediment above the United States Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. Equal justice under law. You will be treated the same, you will be given full and thorough consideration, and you will be treated with respect. Ladies and gentlemen, I have almost 30 years of legal experience to bring to this bench. I know what it's like to represent somebody. I know what it is like to have a case before the courts and know that that case may be the most important case to that person in their life, and they are entitled to full consideration by the courts, and they are entitled to the respect of the courts. It is a pleasure for me to appear before action this morning, and while I do not preach religion, I will tell you that I am a God-fearing man. I was raised in religion. I have raised my family in religion. That is an important foundation. I am Roman Catholic. I am on my parish council. I chair the Bishop's Lenten Appeal, and I am a former third-degree Knight of Columbus. My philosophy is very simple. I do attempt to study the Bible. It's beyond me, I have to admit that. I mean, Revelations, good luck with that one. The end is good on that. But I tell you what, everything leading up to that is a sorry story for humanity. But I do believe this. I believe at the end of the day, we will appear, and the Lord will say to us, each one of us, I gave you this gift of life. Now tell me what you've done with it. Ladies and gentlemen, I sure hope when my time comes, I've got something to say, and I can stand before the Almighty and tell Him that I tried to serve my fellow man and that I was fair. And ladies and gentlemen, if I'm fortunate enough to get your support and get onto the Superior Court of Pennsylvania, that is the candidate that I will be, and I will not disappoint you. I'm happy to take any questions, and I just want to thank you for your time this morning, and it is my absolute pleasure to be here and share this morning with you, if ever so briefly. And thank you, Gwen, for the invitation.